Hey, welcome everyone. So today is the POG 2020 official meta forecast with Stéphane, Robin, Azul, and Otavio. I will let you guys all go around and just introduce yourselves quickly. We'll start with Stéphane.
Hey, right, just something. Wasn't hearing you very well.
Yeah, the audio started to be really
yeah.
bad.
Can you?
So yeah, I was supposed to introduce myself, right? So hi everyone, I'm Stéphane Ivanoff from France. I'm the number one player from Europe for this season, and I've also won a couple of international championships. And I'll be day two player in the POG championships next weekend.
Okay, do you want to keep going along with Otavio?
Cool. So, hey, hi guys. I'm Otavio Gouveia. I'm from Brazil. I'm the number one player in Latin America, and also the second player in the world. And next week I'm going to be a day two player in POG.
Hey, Robin.
Yeah, hi, I'm Robin. I'm from Germany, and I believe I was number 2 in Europe behind Stéphane. When the season ended. Yeah, but it was close.
And Azul.
Hey, Azul Garcia Griego from the United States. No idea where I ended in the rankings. I play a lot of Pokemon.
Okay, so we'll just hop right into it then with some questions that the chat asked earlier. Is Eternatus tier 1? Is it the best deck in the format right now? We'll go in the same order. So starting with Stéphane.
Yeah, it's very good. It's definitely it's a Pokemon that deals 270 damage for 2 energy. Plus, it has a lot of space on the bench, which is a requirement. It's also a good thing because it means you have more space for Zigzagoon mostly, in addition to the space you need for Crobat to draw cards. So basically, it's a very high damage ceiling, and it's very well situated against everything like tag teams, for example, stuff like Pikarom, Mewtwo, ADP. They can all be one-shot by Eternatus, so that makes it a very good deck. Not unbeatable, but definitely very solid.
So me. Okay, so I also think Eternatus is tier 1, and right now, like 4 p.m. Brazil time, I think Eternatus is the best deck in the format today. But because it can one-shot almost anything. In the POG format, it has Yveltal-Jax. Yveltal-Jax is very good. And also, it has answer to anything in the format. And I also think it can beat the Decidueye. So it is very consistent, especially with Eternatus V Power Accelerator attack. So I think it's very consistent. It has Crobat. It can play like Marnie. Marnie is very strong in this format. Yeah, I think it's very solid.
So Robin.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't say it's the best deck in format, but it's definitely up there. The card has just incredible stats, 340 HP, 270 for 2, potentially 270 for 2 energy. That's really good. It has its weaknesses, but yeah, I think there's no way the card is not good. It's at the very, very least tier 2, and yeah, it's pretty sure it's going to be one of the best decks.
Yeah, I agree pretty much with everything that everyone else said. Maybe not the best deck in the format right now, for sure. I think, probably see how POG goes and then we'll tell for sure. But very strong. The stats are just too ridiculous for it not to be good. So it'll never dip below tier 2, I don't think. There might be moments where it is, if fighting decks become really strong or something, but it'll be tier 1, tier 2 deck throughout its whole existence, almost definitely. It's just too much in one card.
Now, just to follow up on that, and we'll go through this one quickly. But for Eternatus, without revealing anything like that you might be trying to keep hidden, what kind of build do we like? I know a lot of people are debating whether on to play Piers, what kind of alternate attackers to fill your bench with. Does anyone have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I would play like 4 Eternatus, 4 VMAX, 4 Crobat, 4 Zigzagoon, 1 Hoopa, 1 Ability Hoopa, and 1 Yveltal Jax. 0 Pierce, like maybe 1 Viridian Forest or Power Plant, 4 Marnie, 4 Magnolia, 4 Capture Energy, 8 Dark, and I think that's it.
It's very specific.
I agree with like most of the stuff, right? You want a very consistent list, I think, and I think like the best way to have a consistent list is just you max out on like the Eternatus line, the Crobat. Capture Energy is very good, 3 or 4 in my opinion, because you don't need only Dark Energy, and you actually need filling your bench is not as easy as it may. Well, it's not hard, but it's not. What to say? You need, well, you don't need, the Capture Energy helps to fill your bench and therefore to deal the maximum amount of damage possible on turn 2. And yeah, I don't think Pierce is great right now. I think you're better off just with a straightforward Professor's Research Marnie engine.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Maybe Pierce might be better against Vikavolt, like if you're really scared of item lock,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I don't think that's reason enough to play it.
Like, I'm not the biggest fan of the lists that I've seen online so far. Like, I don't really see the point of playing like the 4 Zigzagoon. I guess it's nice with Yveltal. Like the Zigzagoon Yveltal combo is like kind of nice with the scoop up nets, but when you're playing like 4 Zigzagoon and 4 scoop up nets just so you can use that Yveltal when you could just be playing like, I don't know, more useful Pokemon like for example Absol. Like a lot of lists don't play Absol, but why would you not play an Absol? It's like you need dark Pokemon to put on your bench, and this thing blocks Jirachi, and a lot of decks play Jirachi. So why would you not put it in your deck? And yeah, there's like a lot of other cool Pokemon like the Meowth, or even like I think Spiritomb is not that bad either. And I'm personally like, I like Weavile, but I'm not completely sure if I will like if that's the build I will end up with. But like for now, I would play it with Weavile. I think just like moving Darkness Energy around and having free retreat with that special Darkness Energy, I think that's really, really good. Basically, like if the opponent can't 1-KO on Eternatus, you can just retreat into another one. And yeah, they will never be able to take prizes if they don't like use bosses order every turn. So yeah, I think that's like Eternatus can do a lot more than just I don't know, playing 4 Zigzagoon and nothing. Like because you don't really struggle with damage, and even with like your Zigzagoon army, I don't feel like you will consistently 1-KO VMAX Pokemon. So yeah.
No, but like,
I haven't played a lot of the deck so far. So yeah, that are just like my initial thoughts.
I think you still need Zigzagoon, if only for like to one-shot ADP, right? You deal 270 without it, so you need at least one Zigzagoon.
I would still play like at least one Zigzagoon, probably like 2 for ADP mainly. But yeah, I'm just saying like the 4 Zigzagoon for Scoop Up Net, that's basically only for Yveltal GX, I feel like. Which might be good against other VMAX decks, but yeah, like it's a lot of commitment.
Yeah, I agree with Rob. I don't think the Nets and Goons are good. I think it'd have to be like pretty specific. The meta would have to be like, or it'd have to be resolved around one deck where you really want the Yveltal, because the Yveltal is really good, but like it's a lot to commit, and the Goons are not super good besides like mirror match to like get the Yveltal KO against like Centiskorch, because otherwise they kind of fall off. But yeah, like one Goon to do against the ADP is nice, but the deck needs consistency because it can struggle, I feel like, sometimes with not being consistent enough. So a little bit more built around like Acrobike and stuff is what I've been liking.
And I really like the Alolan Meowth too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And someone, just before we finish that topic off, someone asked about the potential of playing a Sableye V in Eternatus. I guess the combo with the Zigzagoons.
Yeah, I would play Sableye just for the Zamazenta counter.
Yeah.
Because you can, against Zamazenta, you can do 30 with your little Eternatus, then ping 10 with a Zigzagoon, and like you can just like set up KOs pretty easily, like if you have a Sableye. And yeah, they can KO stabilization and stuff, but it's just so they can't go straight Zamazenta and nothing else. Which without a counter, you don't really have good answers to it. And also Sableye can get back boss's order against control mill decks. I'm not sure if that's like super important, but like the first attack of Sableye is decent.
I guess we'll go right into the next big deck of Darkness Ablaze then with Vikavolt. I know I've been hearing this a lot in the context of people complaining about it. And there's so many different builds of the deck going around. So what do you guys think about Vikavolt? We'll go in the opposite order this time. So we'll start with Azul, Robin, Otavio, and then Stéphane.
I love Vikavolt. It's super fun. It's just super fun to play item lock deck again. And then it's like not as it's not super reliant on using its first attack a whole ton, because you can have some really explosive, just like chain of attacks of the Super Zap Cannon. I think that's what it's called, Super Zap Cannon. You can just like Super Zap Cannon like 3 turns in a row, and just that's it. Knockoutization, knockout to DNA, knockoutization, the game's over. So you're not super reliant on the first attack, but it's nice to like gain tempo in the game and slow it down. You know, you bring up something off the bench, you have your Absol in play, you item lock them for a turn, and then you're like, all right, now I'm ahead in the prize trade. And as long as I hit, one turbo patch heads out of my next 3, I'll win the game. I'll have enough energy to close out the game. I think it struggles a little bit when against welder decks. Welder decks just have Senna Scorch is the biggest one that I've seen as far as welder decks go. And then Eternatus, if they set up really cleanly, it's hard, but there's a lot of, you can bring up a lot. They have a lot of stuff on their bench. You can just kind of start trapping stuff with Vikavolt. I've been playing a lot with like just kind of an aggressive build. I've seen a lot of Guzman Hala builds, which is like really cool because it's like almost guaranteed turn 1 item lock if you get the Guzman Hala off. But besides that, it doesn't do a whole ton for the deck, I feel like. So I'm not a huge fan of the Guzman Hala, but it's like I have to play around with that build a little bit more for sure. But it's definitely good. Not like the best deck by any means, though.
Yeah. The Japanese tech call version. It's actually the only version I've tried of the deck so far, but I liked it. Yeah, it's you don't really use the first attack that much. Like you use it early while you like put energy in play. Yeah, you have to attack with a second attack and with your Raichu a lot, and you can't just go the Seismitoad game plan of just like doing item lock all game. That doesn't really work against decks these days. But yeah, like the strategy of just stalling a bit with like item lock and then doing a lot of damage, it's like works out decently well, I would say. And yeah, with the deck, yeah, I liked it so far. I'm not sure if it's as good as Eternatus, but it's certainly a good deck.
Yeah, I agree with them. I think Vikavolt is very good. I don't like the Marie package, the sleep package. I like the Guzman Hala and full consistency version. I also agree with Robin. The item lock attack, you can just go the Seismitoad plan. You can just rely on item lock. You have to alternate between the item lock and Super Zap Cannon. Super Zap Cannon is super important to win games because 50 damage is not enough in this format. Like Eternatus has 340, so you have to know when to item lock and when to Super Zap Cannon. You can also like trap something in the active. So I think the deck's very good. I don't know if it is the best deck, but it definitely it's tier 1.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be totally honest here. I haven't like Vikavolt is a deck that I wanted to spend a lot of time testing, and for several reasons I postponed it. So I haven't really played the deck. I've watched Azul's stream, and he was playing with Turbo Patch, which wasn't how I wanted to play the deck, but it seemed to be like it was really working. It's just annoying me because when we saw the Japanese Vikavolt list and so on, I was like, okay, I want to play this deck like Seismitoad. I want to be using Quaking Punch. And when you were playing Seismitoad back in 2015, when the deck was still running Water Energy, which it wasn't always, you would never use Seismitoad's second attack. Like, okay, you use it if it to give you your last 2 prizes, but other than that, you never broke the item lock. And that's clearly not how you want. That's how I want to play Vikavolt. I want to play it with, I don't know, Cinchino or something, and then you just spam Surge, Yell Grunt, whatever, being very annoying. But I don't feel like it's gonna work well, actually, Yelgren can be good against some decks like Eternity. That's another thing. But overall, I don't think it's the best way. And I feel like, well, from what I've seen, right, and again, I'm not, I don't have enough experience myself with it, but from what I've seen so far, I feel like, yeah, you just want a turbo patch list and be very, just, you're basically gonna two-shot most things by using polarizing bolt and then the second attack. So,
yeah, so people are asking a lot about like the disruption builds. There's of course the Marit build, and then like heavy hammers and Yell Grunt build. Like I mean, what the build I've been playing is like with greens and wait and see hammer and lots of crushing hammers and super scoop ups and stuff. Do we think there's just like the turbo build is just strictly better than any sort of disruption builds? I know there's the Amoongus build too.
I don't know for sure. I haven't really played with them too much. I think like stuff just has too much HP, and like when you're dealing like with a lot of like ADPization, I think is like by far the most popular deck right now. And they're just gonna Intrepid Sword. They're gonna hit them for 50. They're gonna go, okay, you remove my energy, Intrepid Sword, and then you go, they got an energy off Intrepid Sword, attach return. You get one crushing hammer heads. They go 50 damage. Okay, draw, attach, Intrepid Sword, and then eventually they'll get 3 energy and just knock you out. So you don't win. You never win the battle unless you like get really lucky with your hammers. I feel like but I think Zacian is the one thing that really holds back the disruption build because they just have so much built-in energy excel to Intrepid Sword. They don't need anything to Intrepid Sword as long as they have a Zacian. That's all they need. And just attach return and just repeat until they get the energy in play. So I think Zacian is the one thing that holds the disruption build back. But if Zacian gets pushed out of the meta, looking at like stuff like Eternatus and stuff like that, then it definitely has a chance for sure.
Yeah. Welder also makes energy disruptions worse because you just need like a Giant Hearth and Welder, and then they put too much energy for you to remove.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well then, since you talked about it a bit, we'll go to Zacian. People have been asking about all of the Zacian variants. There's ADP, there's Lucario Melmetal, and then of course there's just like straight Zacian. And then I guess there's still combo from last format. What do we think is like the best Zacian variant, and do we think it's keeping up with the new decks consistently? We'll start with Stéphane.
Yeah, Zacian is definitely still very good. So my theory is that ADP Zacian is a very important part of the meta right now because lots of decks are playing Draydon and Crobat, or at least one or the other. Like Eternatus is only playing Crobat, but it's playing 4 of them. And ADP just has this plan, right, where you go auto creation turn 2 or even turn 1 with a fast list if you go second. And then you can just boss orders Draydon or Crobat, the ultimate tray, take 3 prizes, and then do it again on another Draydon or Crobat, or even on their active tag team or whatever, and take 3 more prizes. So you can just end games very fast, very quickly with this kind of list. And if people don't think about it, if they don't prepare for it, this kind of plan can be absolutely devastating. Now, obviously, you can have like there are answers to it, right? Even if you're playing like I don't know, pick a ROM, and you manage to only put 1 Draydon on the bench, and you can put a big charm on it, then they cannot ultimate trade, take a knockout. So there's a lot of stuff going on. But basically, if people don't prepare for it, if they don't tech for it, if they don't think about it, ADPization, in my opinion, it can definitely win the event. As for the other Zacian decks, maybe you guys have thought more about this than me, but I don't think Zacian is that good right now because Zacian just has more issues when hit KOing stuff. Like in the previous formats, Zacian would be when hit KOing like stuff, whether it's Blacephalon or Zacians. Picarom is not an one hit KO, but you could finish it off with just many crossmouse, stuff like this. But now there are more VMAX in the format, and Eternatus especially, and Composition is going to have trouble against this. And as for Lucario Melmetal Zacian, it might be very good. I don't know. I want to test it. I haven't had time to test it today. But like the idea is again that Eternatus is a deck that struggles with energy denial. So if you can remove their energy with Lucario Melmetal, it can set them back. and maybe give you enough time to take over the game. But I haven't tested that matchup yet, so I don't want to speak about it too much. Maybe you guys have your own opinions on this.
I'll go to yeah.
Okay,
ahead.
so I think the ADP version is better. I think it's still very good because ADP is broken, like super broken. And I'll probably not play. If I were to play ADP, I wouldn't play Turbo Patch. I don't think it's necessary. I think Other Pad and Acrobike is enough. And yeah, like ADP is good, and I think it's better than the straight Zacian and better than Lucario Melmetal, especially because I think Eternatus can play around the Melmetal Jax attack because you can like Power Accelerator, 1 energy to the bench, so you have 2 energies on the field, so you can Eternatus attack, they Jax you, then you retreat and attack with the Eternatus, the other one. So I think ADP is better because ADP is ADP. You can probably get the Jax attack turn 1 very easily with Other Pad and Energy Switch. So I think it's a very solid option for the tournament.
I think ADP Zacian might be the best deck right now. It's just like so versatile in like, or not even versatile. It's the most aggressive deck. So like everything has to try and keep up with it. I feel like even Eternatus has to like keep up with it. It's like you put 2 Crobats in play, they don't have to go through your Eternatus anymore. It's like you pretty much have to put 2 Crobats in play every game. It's really hard to play the game without putting 2 Crobats down. And then I mean Luke Metalization I think is a little underrated right now with Cape. Once you GX attack, Eternatus can't 1-hit KO your Zacians anymore. So if they're not playing Drill or Scrapper, they can't KO a Zacian and they can't KO your Luke Metal. So you're 2-shotting all your Pokemon, which is favorable for you when they're worth 3 prizes. Some years are worth 2. And it also keeps the Cape also keeps your Zacian at a range on the at a range from ADP Zacian. They can't 1-hit KO your Zacians either with their Zacians. So Luke Metal, I think with the Capes, I mean, if people start adding Scrappers, it'll be different, of course, but like no one really has Scrapper in their decks right now because there's no real need for it. But yeah, a Cape Zacian is pretty big once you've used Luke Metal's GX attack for sure. So I think that's gives it some life for sure. The Cape Combozation, I think it's been kind of out of the metal for a little while now. It's just too much to have to pull off turn to turn. The meta's like too fast almost. Everything's hitting too hard. You have like no time to breathe. That your Zacians are always getting 1-hit KO'd. So can't quite keep up anymore. But yeah, ADP Zacian I think it just might be the best deck overall. I think everything's trying to keep up with ADP Zacian right now.
I actually still prefer Combozation over the other variants. And if the tournament was tomorrow, I'd probably play Combozation, honestly. I think that they can do anything that ADP Zacian does, just like cleaner overall. You don't have to play ADP, you don't have to play with water energies, you don't have to like GX turn 2, you can just Intrepid Sword. You can like turn 2 boss order some V Pokemon. You can just go to like the classic KO 1 VMAX, KO Crobat, and that's the game. I don't know, I really like the deck still. I think it's really good and the best way to play Zacian as long as you are to Prism Stars in format. But yeah, the other Zacian variants, like ADP Zacian has outs against everything, which like ADP adds like more outs against like random stuff, I guess. Like with ADP Zacian, I feel like you will never really like face a matchup where you just can't win. Like it's like you always like have game, I guess, and yeah, that's gonna make the deck pretty popular probably. Also, it's just I don't know, people like it for some reason.
You just gave the reason, right? It doesn't have a very bad match, any very bad matchup. So yeah, but that's actually also another reason why it will be played is that it doesn't really need many new cards. You maybe want 1 Crobat in the deck, but most people can get 1 Crobat by next weekend. But not everyone will have 4 Eternatus, 4 Eternatus VMAX, and 4 Crobats.
Yeah, the other thing I've heard about Combozation is like it's like Vikavolt matchup. Like having those cards against Vikavolt is like kind of clunky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Azul, you mentioned Tool Scrapper, and Luke Morsa did ask on Facebook. He was asking, do you think people should be including Tool Scrapper in their lists with things like Big Cape and Giant Cape of Toughness and Big Charm on VMAXs, all like everywhere right now?
I don't know. From what I've seen, this like people are like, not even split. It seems like less people are playing like capes and charms. I mean, like for some situations, there's like some specific situations, like a big charm on an ADP versus Turnchus is very good. They'd probably play Dangerous Drill over Scrapper because it's more versatile. You can do a lot of, especially in mirror match. Dangerous Drill is insane because you can get rid of their capture energy if that's their first energy down, or even the hiding energy. So like Dangerous Drill is insane in the Turnchus mirror match. But overall, besides that, the only space I think you find value in it is against ADP if they play the big charm, they have to be playing it first, and then they have to get it on their ADP before you knock it out. So, but Scrapper, like besides that, like a lot of decks don't even want hit KO ADP anyway, so they don't want it for that. It doesn't seem like there's that many capes going around or that many tool cards in general. So I mean, it's kind of one of those things where, like, and also I think if you're not playing, I feel like there's Jirachi in less decks right now. And if you're not playing Jirachi, it's like harder to find those tool cards in the situations where you need them. You can't like play a draw supporter and then dig with a Stellar Wish or two to find get that extra dig to find those cards in the situations where you need them. So if you're not playing Jirachi, it's a lot harder to want to play cards like Tool Scrapper or Dangerous Drill in the Eternatus deck, because you have just less outs to those specific cards when you need them. And if you don't get them when you need them, then it's going to be irrelevant that you had the card in there sometimes anyway. So, it just kind of has to be like a call on how many people you think are going to show up with capes and charms. I think it's kind of definitely on the, it's not like split 50-50 if people are playing those stuff in the next, like I'll see them in I'll see a big charm and Senna Scorch one game and the next game I won't. So, but I feel like it's less than 50-50. I think less people are playing the HP boosting charms or tools.
Does anyone have any Tool Scrapper?
Yeah, I think Tool Scrapper is bad.
Well,
how many cape are you running now? How many cape I don't know.
No, because like he always is a deck card in late game. Like imagine you get stamped to 1 and you draw 2 Scrapper. Horrible.
You lose.
You lose.
Yeah, but eventually.
But it can also be really good depending on like your deck, the situation. Like in Eternatus, I think if you don't play any Dangerous Drill or like Tool Scrapper, but like Drill is just better than Tool Scrapper in that deck. So, but if you don't play it, and if ADP attaches a Big Charm, that's problematic. If ADP attaches a Giant Bomb, that's also problematic. Yeah, so like most are situations where like having that card or not having it can basically decide the outcome of the game. So, yeah, not sure if I would include like into a blind meta, but yeah, it might become necessary to play tool removal. And like right now, I'm still playing Tool Scrapper in my composition, so I can 1-KO other Zacians that have tools. Because it just feels really bad if you literally don't have outs for a situation in your deck, and then your opponent just plays that card, and yeah, or he just attached like they attach a tool to their Zacian, and I just lose automatically. Like I don't want to be in such a situation, so yeah, I would rather include the Tool Scrapper, just yeah, just to be safe.
Okay, so I mean, based on the way you guys described it, it sounds like it's more of one of those, like Azul said, it's like less than 50% of people seem to be playing these tools right now. So it might be a card that you don't play in day 1, but then you look at the list that make it through to day 2, and then maybe you add Tool Scrapper.
Yeah, exactly.
I would mostly look at like I would look at the deck you're playing and then think about if tools like can beat you. Like if you're playing ADPZ, I don't see a situation where you would need to remove a tool. Like at least like I can't really think of one right now. But if you're playing Eternatus or if you're playing Conversation, there's like you could easily come up with situations where just a tool can lose you the game. So yeah, just it depends a lot more on your deck, I think. And of course, if no one plays tools, you will just cut it anyway. But there's always going to be some lists that play that tool and some lists that don't. So I would not just bank on dodging them if you have a weakness to tools, basically.
So the next deck people were asking about was Senta Scorch. Obviously, we just talked about Zacian. Senta Scorch, that's probably one of the biggest reasons to play Senta Scorch, other than maybe like Vikavolt. What do we think about Senta Scorch? Is it viable? We'll start with Robin.
Yeah, I haven't tested the deck yet, but it seems okay. Yeah, what's nice about Centiskorch is that it can, it probably won't get 1 KO, so you can put energy on there and then get an extra energy with attack, and then you can use those energies to 1 KO anything with either Heatran or Blacephalon GX or Turtonator. Basically, Centiskorch is the place where you can put your energies and they will be safe. So I think you can do stuff with that. And yeah, you can also build up a big Centiskorch. Yeah, I think like a Centiskorch Firebox deck could be good. But yeah, I really haven't tried it out yet. And yeah, not sure, but I think there's potential there.
Azul?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's potential. Played around with it a little bit. Not as much I would have liked to have yet. Been messing around with other stuff, but too much Mad Party. But Centiskorch is like it protects the energy, which is super nice. So you can like set up into big plays, Heatran, Blacephalon GX, Turtonator, like Robin mentioned. So yeah, it protects your energy really, really well, which is super nice. And you can get to you can just get a huge Centiskorch. Like especially if you go second and you play the Volcanion, 3 there, get a Welder. That's like 6 turn 1, and then or 5 turn 1. 5, and then next turn Welder again, you have 8. You can like one shot a Eternatus or whatever you want to KO. I mean, it has potential to do really big numbers that hit for really hard. If you wanted to, protects the energy. You can just like knock out smaller stuff. Could against Station decks, obviously, it's really easy to take those KOs. Yeah, biggest thing is that protects your energy and sets up for like bigger plays. Potentially, I think is the biggest thing for it compared to like other past like Firebox decks, because like your energy was always kind of vulnerable no matter where you put it. In like past Firebox decks for the most part, unless you put it on the Reshizar, but then you had a 3 prize Pokemon in play, which wasn't always great. So yeah, it seems solid. I don't think it's like, you know, best deck in format, guaranteed tier 1 or anything. It's solid though.
Otavio?
Oh, okay. I think the deck is okay. I think it is tier 2. I personally don't like Centiskorch because it is a Welder deck and also a stage 1 deck. So to me, that sounds inconsistent. So like, and you have to use Pokemon Communication to search for the VMAX. So like, you're probably going to break a lot. I don't like the deck very much.
Stéphane?
Yeah, I think these are all good points. Like in theory, it has a lot of potential, but yeah, I would be afraid of the consistency. That's probably the thing to like the main issue with the deck. Also, should be noted that like Centiskorch is worse off as long as Evotal GX is in the format, and decks are thinking about playing it. Decks like Eternatus, because no matter how much HP you have, if there's Evotal GX, you're gonna lose. And if you lose your Centiskorch with 8 energy or whatever to an Evotal GX, you lose the game. So that's something that scares me a little bit. One thing I like about Centiskorch though is that, especially compared to other VMAX or similar decks, is you have answers built into annoying cards. Like for example, Decidueye. You know, if you're playing Adipization, you have to include an answer to Decidueye, which is probably Dorlodon. But Dorlodon is not a card you really want to play in Adipization. It's a card you have to play if you are afraid of Decidueye. Whereas Centiskorch, it already has Volcanion, so it doesn't care about this. It has Volcanion for Decidueye, it has Volcanion for... even Volcanion is very good against Zacian, obviously, right? If they don't have a tool, you just one-shot it. So that's but that's more praising Volcanion than praising Centiskorch itself. But yeah, otherwise I agree with what the other guys said.
Speaking of Decidueye, do we think Decidueye is viable? I feel like it's kind of does one thing, but does it do it well enough? Will people be countering it? Should people be countering it? Stéphane?
It's hard to say. Like it's very hard to say. Yeah, it's one of these situations where honestly, like the deck, if you take Decidueye by itself, it's not very good. But if everyone says, "Oh, it's not very good," I don't care about that, and then suddenly Decidueye becomes good because it beats what people are doing. So I don't recommend, honestly, I wouldn't recommend Decidueye for the event. You're going to lose to random stuff like Volcanion in Centiskorch. You're going to lose to Blacephalon. You're going to lose to any like Mad Party. Or actually, maybe the damage controls from Decidueye are good against Mad Party. Although it can play you. I don't know. That's probably not enough.
Control.
Yeah, yes, control. Like, there's a lot of issues with decidueye, and I think it only makes sense. It's a very narrow pick. So, like, the question you have, and it's not even for decks that decidueye is supposed to beat. It's not very hard for them to counter the decidueye most of the time. So, it's not. I don't think it's great, basically.
Otavio?
Oh yeah, I also don't like the CGI. I think it has a good matchup against Eternatus, but I think Eternatus can beat the CGI. Also, like the CGI auto loses to Sandy Scorch, to Baby Blounce, probably loses to Vikavolt, and also if ADP is playing Duraludon, it also loses to ADP. So like I don't like it has a good matchup against Eternatus, but like the rest is horrible. So it's probably really bad. Yesterday, I saw a comment on Twitter saying the CGI is like okay, but it is the kind of deck you are going to play you are going to face in the winning inning to the two, and you are going to lose two, and that's it.
Yeah. Robin?
Yeah, like I agree with what's been said. It just has too many decks that loses to, like Blacephalon, like Bellelba and Bryson decks, and yeah, also it's good matchups can take against it. Like ADPZ with the metal thing.
Duraludon?
Forgot the name. Yeah, with that thing can money cure the Decidueyes. Yeah, that's just too much stuff you're afraid of, I think. So pre-rotation, I would not play that. Like you can even lose against lightning decks just because with electro power, Tapu Koko Prism Stack can knock you out. So yeah, with Vikavolt and Tapu Koko, those decks can like you can easily lose against lightning even. So yeah, I don't think it's worth it.
Oh, I think it's a little bit better than the other guys have said. I think if you're gonna play, I think it gets worse on rotation. You have counter gain right now, which is a huge deal to be able to consistently attack like back to back with the Decidueyes. You can kind of keep up with Volcanions with like Zigzagoons, and you have your Snipes. 80 like the Duraludon thing is like I don't know what, like 20%. Like it's in the same situation that Obstagoon has always been in, or decks like this are always in, where it's like the deck actually no one's gonna tech for it. You know, the percentage of people who are going to play a Duraludon on their 80 position is super low. No one's going to actually play that card, or they will, but like you maybe hit one if you play out Decidueye, probably zero. It never happens. No one ever plays these cards that exist, right? Because Decidueye is not going to be a popular deck, right? No one is actually going to go out of their way and play this card Duraludon. Like, some people will. When I say no people will, it doesn't actually mean zero. But it's in the same situation that Obstagoon or any deck like this is always in, where it's like everyone knows the tech is there, everyone thinks about the tech, and no one ends up playing it the night before. So I think Decidueye is like it's like as good as Obstagoon was last format, which was like pretty solid, right? It wasn't great, but it was like okay. And if you hit one, there's a lot of auto wins that Obstagoon had last format. It's like a better Obstagoon because it's obviously in the ability instead of the attack. And you have some decent matchup, obvious stuff like Baby Blounce. A Volcanion army can be hard to struggle through, but it's like definitely winnable. And I think counter gain is just a huge deal for the deck because it allows you to like attack back to back, or even with the Decidueyes, and get through those tech cards they might have, or get through like the swarm of Volcanions and stuff, or get through they'll get through the Tapu Koko. You swing with a Decidueye, they knock it out with Koko. You can swing back with another Decidueye immediately because you have the counter gain. But when you lose the counter gain, it's going to be a lot harder to like keep up when they have this one or two of cards that you need to deal with. And yeah, I wouldn't be afraid of the tech cards. Like if you want to play Decidueye, I would say go for it. You probably won't hit one of those tech cards. No one actually plays them. Everyone talks about them though.
A lot of people have been playing Mawile against Obstagoon, to be fair. It's been popular for a while.
The Mawile?
And it was mostly because of Obstagoon.
Yeah.
When ADPZ in the Sword Shield format. But yeah, Duraludon will probably be less popular than Mawile. So, yeah. And the Decidueye certainly has its like if you want to play it, you can hit some good matchups and make it through for sure.
Yeah. I think it's exactly in like don't be. It's not like a broken deck. Probably not tier 1, but don't be afraid. I would say with these kind of decks, never be afraid of the text. Always just play the deck if you want to play it, because not a high enough percentage of people play the text where you just can't potentially make it through. Not everyone is going to have Duraludon or Mawile in their ADP stations. Some people will. Just hope you don't hit them.
Yeah, it tends to be the thing with wall stall decks.
Yeah.
Now everyone wants to know: are there any good fighting decks? What is the best fighting deck? All the ones we have just sound really bad. Rhyperior, Phalanx, Anaconda, Excadrill. Do we think any of them are worth playing into Vikavolt and Eternatus and trying to just hit lots of those all day?
I
Phalanx,
think they have the
maybe?
same problems as the Sigilai. They just lose against a lot of stuff. You might beat some matchups, but you also lose against a lot.
I think Phalanx is the best fighting deck, but I don't think it's good, and it can lose against Vikavolt and Eternatus, because like you need a full bench against Eternatus, and you don't one-shot Eternatus because you only do 300. So you need the stadium, and you need to be losing. And against Vikavolt, he can item lock you, and you won't be able to search for your Phalanx. So like, I don't think
Phalanx
it's
has an
really...
attack which
Yeah.
matches for 2 Phalanx actually.
Yeah, it
Oh,
has an attack,
okay.
and you have capture energy.
Okay, broken Phalanx.
And Vikavolt with item lock does literally like 0 damage against
Yeah, they'll
Phalanx.
do 0.
Everything taken back. Everyone play Phalanx.
I mean, if you only expect Vikavolt, Phalanx is probably a very good call. But if you expect other stuff, including ADPization, like that's, I think, a big issue with Phalanx, and actually a big issue for many one-price decks right now.
Yeah, I don't think there's any great fighting decks. I really liked playing Sandaconda Colossus or whatever when that came out last format, but it wasn't obviously not too ridiculously good or anything. Yeah, there's always like, yeah, I mean Stonejourner with the Rose engine could be good as well. I haven't messed around with that yet. I know JW did a bit. I might take a look at his list, but yeah, there's nothing great for. It's been a while. they're missing Buzzrock right now. The fighting guys are missing Buzzrock right now. It's been a while since fighting's had a shot with anything. There's nothing great right now for sure. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's see. When we were talking about Decidueye, we talked a bit about control and a little bit about mill. Do we think control and mill are still viable in this format? Will they be represented? Of course, control and mill decks often aren't, just because a lot of people don't like to play them. We'll start with Azul.
Yeah, I think they'll be there for sure. I mean, it's a little bit tough for them. ADPization, like I said, I think most popular deck for sure. I don't think it'll be too close on that being the most popular deck in the tournament. And that's always been kind of tough, especially now that they can't. They have a lot of people are playing the E-Switch. Some have Turbo Patch, Metal Saucer. You can get off that turn 1 GX attack. One of the ways Mill or Control kind of held ADPization back was they were unattached and they got Crushing Hammerheads or Yelp, and they kind of stopped the GX attack for a couple turns until they were like set up, got their Cincinnos and playing stuff. But that's gonna make it tough for them. But it's not impossible for control decks to get through that. And there's a wide variety of stuff people are playing. People got the Mareep thing. People going straight mill with the Macargo package still. The Mareep ones, there's Control, Mareep, Articuno, and I've seen one with Articuno and Macargo in it. So I don't know. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's hard to prepare for any of them. But they'll be around. How much of them will be is kind of be up in the air. I don't know if there's anything really new and broken coming out with the news. I don't think the news I brought too much to control at all. So it's basically the same stuff we've been seeing. It's just what people choose to play on the day for what they want to see.
Does anyone else have opinions on control?
Yeah, I think a lot of people actually just really like the deck. They like playing mill and control, and this will be the last tournament Oranguru is legal, and the last tournament Beleva and Bryson Man is legal. So yeah, I would expect some, and the deck gained some good matchups. Probably with Eternatus and the fire stuff. Those are probably favored for those kinds of decks. So yeah, I do expect to see a decent amount.
Yeah, I have no idea if control is good or not, but I think some people will play, especially those who like control. But I don't know if it's good. I don't know which version is the best. If it is straight Mule, Cinccino, or Mareep. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, they have their different strengths and weaknesses. Against ADPization, probably straight mill, the classic mill decks from 3 months ago are going to be better because you want to hide behind pocket holes. They a current ADPization list are drawing a lot of cards, but being very hard for a deck for a quick GX. So we're going to play Dedenne, maybe Crobats, draw a lot of stuff. And obviously, the more they draw, the closer they are to taking out. So Mill is stronger against that. Against other decks like Eternatus, Eternatus has huge issues. I think we've mentioned it already. Huge issues with Yell Grunt. So a control list, the kind of stuff we've seen Chino control. It's just gonna do very well against Eternatus. And then again, now we have lists that are in the middle. Like control will still play multiple Belba to try to go faster, but some lists play Pokédoll, some don't. So I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't know which. This is actually for day one. Probably you want something that has a chance against ADP. So probably you probably want Pokédolls for day one. I think in day one there's going to be less Eternatus, more and far more ADPization. So you want to be prepared for that.
Yeah, and I will say we did gain Birdkeeper actually. That's pretty big card for control. Speaking of which, do we think that Birdkeeper, Mallow and Lana, and Channeler, I've seen those three talked about a lot in decks like ADP especially, are good as one-ofs just like mainly for Vikavolt?
No Channeler.
No.
Yeah, no to Chandler.
No Chandler.
No Chandler.
No Chandler.
Chandler maybe in control lists, like where you're gonna get a very big hand because of Cinchino, and then at some point you Chandler so you can Crushing Hammer and play stuff. I don't know, but even then you probably can build a list without. Well, you probably want Chandler anyway, but you like there are control lists now that don't require too many items that can use Delcatty to get back Supercharge from discard. You maybe just need one turn of Chandler at some point to scoop up net Delcatty to get it to reuse its ability. But yeah, no, if you're playing ADPization or any attacking like straightforward deck like this, you don't want Chandler. It's too slow. It doesn't do enough. Completely dead outside of the Vikavolt matchup, and no. But other cards, yeah, Mallow and Lana is always good, right? And I mean, it's not always, but it was good before it's playable at least. And Birdkeeper as well. Birdkeeper is actually better than I expected. It just I wouldn't feel bad about putting a one-off Birdkeeper in many decks like Picaram, like ADPization, and especially decks that play Elder Ghost that can reuse it at some point. Yeah, I don't know if it's
Otavio?
needed, but it's not bad.
Okay, so like no to Channeler, and I think Mallow Lana is a must in almost every deck. I think it's very good. And I don't know if I would play Birdkeeper. I think it's a very good card, but I don't know if I would play it. But like Mallow Lana for sure. Mallow Lana is amazing. Like it's great against Eternatus and against Vikavolt. So like I would play it for sure.
Robin?
I really like Birdkeeper. Just like draw 3 is not bad. It's a fine supporter, and yeah, the switching is really good. I really like it in Zacian. Been playing one in combo Zacian and thinking about maybe putting a second one. It's just really nice card. That does a lot for the deck. But yeah, like, in some decks you might want Birdkeeper. Sometimes you might want Mallow Lana instead. It really depends, I think.
Yeah, I don't think any deck should play Chandler. Even the control decks, you're not going to beat Vikavolt. That's like a really bad matchup to control and Milgot. The news says the Vikavolt matchup, which even Chandler's not going to get you out of that. But Birdkeeper, I like Birdkeeper a lot. Mallow and Lana, a little bit more situated. With Dragapult out of the format, it just got worse because like Mallow and Lana used to be really good against Dragapult. Dragapult still could stay around, if Eternatus doesn't show up that much. Dragapult could come through out of nowhere. But with like Dragapult not as much in the meta, Mallow and Lana definitely is not as good as it used to be. And Birdkeeper's like always just like, if you have it, you can draw cards at the very least. If that's the only supporter you got, draw some cards. Get the switch effect in. Whereas Mallow and Lana's a little bit more demanding to get like the second effect out of it if you want to get it. You can just do the switch effect as the Mallow and Lana as well. But yeah, if you're stuck between, you only have one supporter in your hand, it's Mallow and Lana or Birdkeeper, you'd almost always want Birdkeeper. So it's a little bit more consistent.
Yeah, I think a lot of people attacking Channeler don't realize how important it was to via Seer chain your Pokemon Rangers.
Yeah.
And speaking of Dragapults, Cash Vendor Sing Man did ask, do we think there will be enough Eternatus at the event to warrant like Dragapult just being completely written off, or do we think it's still a viable deck?
I think it's viable. I don't think it should be enough Eternatus. One of the biggest things is just people not being able to get the cards, and it's one of those things. And I think I mentioned this on my stream like the other day. It's like a lot of people. I feel like the mindset lately in just building decks has been you can't take a loss to anything. I feel like a couple of years ago it was like everyone was like I'll take 2 losses here, take a loss here. It doesn't matter. I don't care as much, right? I feel like I don't know. It feels like that's the way people build decks these days. They don't want to take a loss to any single deck, even if it's like not going to be played. Like everyone knows it's not going to be played. It's maybe there's 2 in the whole tournament. Who knows, right? But the Dragapult's really good. If your only bad matchup is Eternatus, and there might not be that much of it, it's not a bad play. Yeah, Dragapult's really, really good. It's a really good card, really good deck. And one of the biggest things for this event specifically is people might just not have all the cards to play Eternatus. So that'll lessen it, the play of it. And I don't even think it'll be, even if everyone had access to the cards, I don't think it would be that ridiculously popular. A little bit worse to play Dragapult then, but I think that's the big thing right now. Is people just aren't going to have the cards to play Eternatus. So Dragapult's not a terrible play.
Yeah, I agree. I think Dragapult is a completely fine deck. I would still put it in tier 1. Like it beats almost anything. Like Pika matchup is still like maybe like slightly unfavored, not sure. Eternatus matchup is like if you don't take against it at all, you just lose. But other than that, it honestly beats a lot of the meta. It's I think it's still good against Pasiphalon, it's good against Beleba decks, especially if they don't play like a ton of Sky Pillar. It beats a lot of random decks that like popped up. Like for example, some people have been playing Malamar again, and that's just loses against Dragapult. It also auto wins against the Mad Party deck, which is actually a pretty good deck in my opinion. It just beats a lot, honestly. It might lose against Eternatus, but Eternatus might not even be that big for this tournament. Dragapult is a really good deck.
Yeah, I think Dragapult is tier 2. I would not play it in the tournament because I think it has a very, very bad matchup against Eternatus. I also think it has a bad matchup against ADP and also Pikaron, but I don't think people will play in Pikaron, but like ADP might be the most played deck in the tournament. And I think in the end of the last format, people were starting to know how to play against Dragapult, so I don't think Dragapult is a good deck, like a good play for the tournament. I think it's tier 2. It is okay.
My point of view is actually Dragapult might low-key be maybe a great call, maybe the best call for day 1 at least, because as Robin and Azul said, there's not going to be too much Eternatus in day 1 probably. Remember, like the POG Championships, the event is free, so everyone can enter, and not like you don't need to be qualified, So there are gonna be people who have a deck they like, are gonna enter and they're gonna play, and they don't. And most of these people, like, they will have a deck that's on the cheaper side. I don't think they're gonna play bad decks, right? You're not gonna play against theme decks or anything, but you're like not everyone has Eternatus. In day 2 of the tournament, I think that's different because many people are more serious players who use CGO a lot and who can afford and who want to have the best decks all the time. So they will manage to have the full Eternatus deck on day 2. But in day 1, there's not going to be that much of it. I think if you look right now on ladder, there's not too much Eternatus. You can face it sometimes, but it's not a lot. And I think one of the main draws of Dragapult right now is that because of Eternatus, people are thinking, oh, Dragapult is over. It didn't do well in the few competitions we saw in Japan. So people are start thinking about playing a lot of stuff again, but used to not be played because of Dragapult. Meal control, stuff like this, that's the main thing. But also, like, I know some people are going to try playing Mewtwo again, maybe, which has a deck that had a lot of issues against Dragapult. As Robin said, Malamar, some people are talking about Malamar. And Dragapult has it just beats everything that people are going to play to beat Eternatus, for example. It beats, I don't know, if people play, Phalanx, we talk about Phalanx, Dragapult just destroys that. It beats Pasiphalon, it's going to beat a lot of things, and I think it's very reasonable to say, in day 1 at least, to say, okay, I'm going to beat a lot of stuff, and if I play against Eternatus, then I'll take the loss.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, in day 1, you can take 3 losses. That's how I went into my mentality for most regionals this year. I'm just like, I want points. I can take 2 or 3 losses. I'm just going to play a deck that I know will take 2 or 3 losses and beat everything else.
Yeah.
What do we?
And
And speaking of that, yeah, go ahead.
There's so many viable decks in this format. Like we have talked about a bunch of decks, I feel like, and most of them are like viable. Like last format had, I don't know, like had 5 really good decks, and then some more like kind of good decks, and now we gained like at least like 3 more good decks. Yeah, I feel like the meta is very, very wide right now, and so taking that 1 loss against Eternatus, while it's not optimal, I guess it's most likely okay when you have like, I don't know, 5 good matchups and then 2 even matchups and 1 really, really bad matchup. That's still a really good matchup spread overall.
Speaking of which, there's Baby Blounds. I think that's also sort of a similar pool where it's like takes a really, really bad matchup to Vikavolt, but across the board it has pretty solid matchups, gains a few good matchups like Eternatus, Centiskorch, and Decidueye. I know some people are still worried about it having consistency issues. Do we think that is viable or like top tier right now? Start with Azul.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've seen like very little of it on the ladder, but who wants to play Baby Bonds? Nothing changed. They gained 0 cards, I think. So who wants to play Baby Bonds right now? Crobat, yeah, okay.
Like everything.
A little bit more consistent, yeah. So it's good. I mean, the Pokemon got bigger, are still worth 3 prize cards, and they're not Dragapult, so they're not taking 2 to 3 knockouts in a turn. And then, you're 1-hit KO in a turn just for the same amount of energy, 1-hit KO in Centiskorch for the same amount of energy, but they're not winning faster, so you have more time, right? So I think Baby Blounds, the Vikavolt matchup is bad. The Vikavolt matchup is pretty tough. But besides that, like, and once again, we're talking about, like Robin said, it's a wider spread of matchups. Dragapult definitely gonna be less. Dragapult is probably maybe the most popular deck, or second most to Pikarom, I guess, most of the time in tournaments that were coming up online. They're definitely not gonna be as big as it was before. And yeah, so Vikavolt's like really your only real bad matchup. Of course, there's the controls and the mills that'll knock it down as well. But Baby Blounds looks really good right now. Looks really, really good besides the Vikavolt matchup and the control mill shenanigans.
Robin?
Yeah, the deck. Yeah, nothing really changed about it. It's still, I think, in the same place it's been. I think if you throw in a Dapple into your deck, you can beat Vikavolt. They can't really item lock you if you just like attack with that thing. So they'll have to break the item lock, and you will be able to take prizes. Yeah, it's probably still not that great, but I think you can play that matchup. And yeah, other than that, yeah, just has good matchups, has some bad matchups. It's a good deck overall.
Yeah, I also think Baby Blounds is a good deck. I think it's flying under the radar now. I think it has a lot of good matchups. Obviously, it has a poor matchup against Vikavolt, but like it can definitely win against Eternatus, ADP, and like combo Zacian. So like I think Baby Blounds is a good call, but like I would watch out for the Vikavolt.
Yeah,
That's
that's,
I know you
sorry.
like Baby Blounds a lot.
No, I used to haven't played that much in a while, and yeah, that's like Vikavolt, as you guys said, is the main the main threat. I'm thinking about it right now. I'm thinking maybe you use Victim EV in the early game. You can threaten Vikavolt over 2 turns like this, and then if they use the second attack, then you play all your items. You go. And you do blissful and stuff where you just one-shot things, but Blissful always has issues with item lock at some point. Even if it manages to take a knockout, then after the big knockout on Vikavolt, the next one comes in, it item locks you again, and then you're gonna have issues. And I don't think that Channeler can actually like. I could see Blissful being the one deck that could use Channeler because of how it recovers its items. Like even one of the items is just you get Fire Crystal, you play 2 Fire Crystal, you take a knockout, right? So maybe I have to test it, but I don't think. Yeah, I think overall it's just it's not gonna be good enough, or you will have to change the list a lot to beat Vikavolt. And yeah, I would be afraid of Vikavolt on day 1. I think that's gonna be quite a bit of it, but I could see Blissful being I think there's definitely going to be people I wouldn't be surprised at all if some people play Betaflon and manage to go through day one with it, because if you dodged a few bad matchups like Vikavolt, it can definitely beat out of stuff, out of random stuff. That's the power of being a one price deck, and I could see it having a better matchup spread in day two, where we could expect a bit more Tinnitus. Maybe, I don't know if it's going to be less Vikavolt for day two though, but we'll see.
Yeah. Another deck that really just gains Crobat like everything else does, but I think this deck uses it really well, Pikarom. It's definitely been less talked about lately, but do we still think it's like top of the format? I know some people think it's like S tier, some people aren't really testing it at all. Start with Azul.
I have not played any of new Pikarom. I don't even know the correct way to play with it anymore. You have some more options. You can get Turbo Patch and like heavier Bolton in there, so you start off with a full Blitz and you transition into Bolton for the rest of the game. I feel like there has to be some way to abuse Turbo Patch in the deck, no matter what. Maybe not. Maybe just keep going on what you had, and you just have Crobat in there. Yeah, being able to like split 2 Dedenne, 2 Crobat in the deck, and like just have like those massive turns. Dedenne for 6, Crobat for 6, throw your Volkner eventually in there to get that one item you whiffed, and then you have the whole combo or whatever. It's pretty cool. So definitely gained a lot. Everything got bigger. Or a lot of Pokemon got bigger. They turned to the Centiskorch, so those guys are big to deal with. But he's beating Dragapult before. I guess the Dragapult didn't quite hit as hard. It's got to still be good, I have to imagine. I think the Vigavolt matchup is bad, I think. I played that matchup quite a few times. I haven't played a lot of Pikarom myself. I played against it quite a bit. It's Vigavolt can just always gain tempo. They just say, like, all right, your item locked, you can't kill me. And then they switch it around and they go, Zap Cannon, I'm ahead, you lose. Like, the Vigavolt matchup, I think it's bad for Pikarom. I think it's real bad. They can always gain tempo with the whatever the first attack, the item lock attack, I forget what it's called, but you can always gain tempo with that, and Pikarom can't catch back up. So that one I think is pretty bad. But besides that, it's still Pikarom, so it should still be decent. And then, yeah, maybe something with like heavier Bolton plus Turbo Patch could be cool for sure.
Okay, we'll go to Otavio and then Stéphane, and then Robin, since he doesn't exist right now.
Like, I think Pikarom is good because like it's very consistent. It has been good since when it released in Chin-Up. So like you can full Blitz turn 1 pretty consistently. We have Crobat now, so that's better. I don't know how to play like Pikarom now. What's the best build if you focus on Turbo Patch or Bounton, or like just go like with the list from last format? I don't know how bad or how good is the matchup against Eternatus. Like Azul said, against Vikavolt it's bad, but like, okay, if again maybe it's playable against Eternatus. I think it's okay against ADP. I think it is okay against Centiskorch. I think it is okay against Baby Blounce. If you play a non-GX, non-V attacker, you can beat the CGI. So like, I think Pikarom is good because you can full Blitz turn 1. Full Blitz turn 1 is very good.
Yeah, Pikarom is like one of these decks that has a lot, and I mean really a lot of options, so you can build it different ways. And it means that even though maybe right now we don't feel it's so amazing, I think that maybe we just haven't found the right way to play it in the metagame right now. Azul was suggesting, something very fast with turbo patches and stuff, and I think you can actually have success playing it a bit slow. That's what I'm trying out right now. Something a bit slower, where you try not to put too many Dedenne, Crobat, stuff like this on your bench, so that ADP doesn't have easy targets to Ultimate Ray. And you can play a lot with Volkner. You can have a lot of options. You can play Reset Stamp, Attack Switch, Tooth Scrapper, whatever. I've seen Japanese lists which play the item that moves special energy from the opponent in a porter, I think it is. For example, if you can get Bast, I get Eternatus, you can just move the capture energy from turn 1 to something else, and you basically won one turn against them. So lots of options in the deck. Also, Pikarom, gained Vikavolt. It can play it. It should play it. But it's gonna improve the basic matchup and gonna help against other power stuff like Meal. If people play Meal with Pokédolls, classic Meal, Vikavolt is very good like this. You one-shot a Pokédoll but cannot play anymore, then you can start going through the Sinchi nodes or the McCargles or whatever. Yeah, you can just it's just like it is good basically. Pikarom is gonna be, I don't know if it's gonna win. I don't know how high I would rate it, but it's definitely good at least until rotation.
Okay, so we have not gone. I can't see Robin, but he is showing up
I
on the
can.
screen.
Yeah.
You can see
sorry.
Robin?
Yeah, I can see.
Wait, I cannot.
I can't either.
I can. He's here. He's right there.
No, it's not, Otavio. You're seeing it's an hallucination.
Robin, say
Hello?
something.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear
Okay,
Robin?
I don't think he
Can anyone
Can you
hear?
hear us, Robin?
I
I
see
can.
Otavio and Stefan. Yeah.
I can hear Robin. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can't hear
Yeah.
Robin either.
No, I can't.
I can hear him, but he can hear me.
Yeah, I
Can
can
you
hear.
hear? Oh, okay.
I will try to reconnect again.
Okay.
Like,
I don't know. Can the stream hear Robin? Yeah. Okay, the stream can hear Robin. Does Robin
Well.
want to give his thoughts on Pikarom to the stream? We won't be able to hear him.
Oh, his camera is frozen right now.
Okay. Maybe we just move on to the next question for now then. Yeah, it looks like his camera's still frozen. So,
I see him now.
Oh,
yeah,
he's back.
just in
is
time.
he?
Okay, can you hear us, Robin?
Yeah. And now I can't see or hear Otavio. Yeah.
Uno
I
reverse.
see the rest of you.
Okay.
That's weird.
Well, do you want to give your thoughts on Pikarom?
Yeah, I think Pikarom is good. Like, it was a top 2 deck last format. It's gotta be good still. It gained Vikavolt, which is a nice option. Just like can get some item lock here and there, and it's good against so the Cephalon and Mill decks, which were traditionally like harder matchups for Pikarom. You get Crobat for more turn 1 potential. Like, Eternatus is potentially a problem because it can 1-KO Pikarom pretty easily. But yeah, other than that, deck is really good.
Now, this was probably the one I've gotten the most questions about, but I think most of them were jokes. Do we think Malamar is good in this format? I know we've seen a lot of weird lists go around on Twitter recently.
Can I speak first?
Yep, go ahead.
No, never, never, never. No, just no. Malamar is horrible. Never has been good. Like
Ever.
Like maybe it was good once. I think Danny won a regional with Malamar, but that's it. Malamar is horrible. It's trash. Don't play it. No, seriously, Malamar is bad. Always has been. Always will be.
So I'm not sure that we need to hear anyone else on this. I think that's pretty much. Go ahead.
Wow.
No, I mean, I actually don't know. Haven't tested Malamar, but on paper, right? It seems like it seems like the one of the main reasons not to play Malamar was because of Dragapult. Dragapult was very good against Malamar. Would just take prices easily, knock out the energy acceleration. And if we expect, and that's a big if, but if we expect Dragapult to be less played now because of the threat of Eternatus, then Malamar could be good again. Malamar with Mewtwo was a very decent, arguably probably tier 1 deck before Rebel Clash. And like, I could definitely see something like this coming back. There's the new Mew V, which like works very well with Malamar. On the other side, like I can see Malamar having issues with Vikavolt, so that's also something. And again, I haven't tested Malamar right now, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was decent. Probably not tier 1. It's not gonna be tier 1, but it's. I would think it's better than what Otavio thinks it is.
Azul?
Yeah, I think Malamar's. I mean, it got way better. Dragapult was like the only thing. Last format, the only like Malamar was. If you played Malamar and didn't hit a Dragapult, you were winning most of your games. Like a lot of your games, you were just winning because Pikarom's a good matchup. Cephalon's a good matchup. I mean, ADPization, you got the Latios 50-50. Combozation was fine with the Mimikyus. Like, last format, besides the Dragapult matchup, now the Dragapult's definitely going to be less played. There's no way Dragapult's going to be as popular as it was. Not just because of Eternatus being like, oh, it's a bad matchup. It's like there's new decks. There's more decks in the format, so less people are going to be playing. Just because there's more decks means less people will be playing Dragapult, right? The last format, there was like 4 decks, 5 decks. Baby Blands, Pikarom, Dragapult, ADP Station, right? There's 4 decks, 4 top decks or whatever. So everyone was playing those when you like put all people splitting up between the top decks. It's 4 choices. Pikarom and Dragapult obviously played more, but now that there's like, you know, we're talking about 6 to 8 good decks, there's going to be less Dragapult, and then the Scare of Eternatus, less Dragapult. So Malamar definitely has a shot. I don't know, Mewtwo. I like the idea of Spell Tag Malamar again, but I just kind of I'm a fan of that one. So, but Mewtwo Malamar, Marnie Trevnor's just good, right? So, and if you don't have a Dragapult one-shotting you on the other side, that doesn't sound too bad to me.
Robin?
Yeah, I think the deck is like kind of decent, but I never really thought the Latios is that good against ADPZ. Like I don't know, it felt like you didn't get it like consistently enough. And now that they can even turn Manjix attack you, it's like even worse. Yeah, I think overall you lose against ADPZ much more often than you win. So yeah, and then you still lose against Dragapult, which, yeah, how Azul explained, it's going to be played less, but it's still going to be played, I would assume. So that's another matchup you lose. So I personally, I don't really like Malamar, mainly because of those 2 matchups, but yeah, I mean, it's an okay deck, I guess. It's I don't think it's really good, but it's like, it's okay.
Can I add something?
Yes, Otavio.
Yeah, because like, this is not the first time I'm having this conversation. This is not the second time I'm having this conversation. I think it's like the 8th time I'm having this conversation. Every 3 months, someone asks, "Oh, Malamar looks good now. It is more consistent. Maybe it is a play." No, never. Like in LAIC 2018, I played Malamar because Malamar looks good. I got top 128. It was decent, but like it was not the best deck. It was not tier 1. I didn't play Malamar anymore. Last year, LAIC, same thing. Oh, Malamar has now like Baby Blounce and I think Mimikyu, but guess what? It was not good. Never has been. Like same thing. Like OCAC, same thing. NAIC, same thing. Like Sword and Shield, it was good in the beginning, but when the meta developed, it could not win against ADP. Actually, it could, but like it was very hard, I think, even with Latios. So like I don't think Malamar is good. It's always the same thing. Oh, is Malamar good? No, it's not. No.
But it has been good. At the start of the season, it was good. At the start of was it last season? There was like there were lists that were doing well. I mean, Malamar has, yeah, it's often disappointing overall, but it's not bad, right? It's still playable. It's like tier 2 or tier 2.5 or whatever. I don't believe in 0.5 in tiers, but
yeah, it's not
if I say tier 3, it's gonna sound worse than I think it is.
Yeah. It's not ideal. It's not optimal. But it's like it's kind of bad, but not. It's not like 100% bad. It's just
Not balanced.
Yeah.
It's just unreliable. It's just like you play Malamar. Like every time you play Malamar, you think, okay, yeah, this deck works. I've tested it, works, and then you draw and you have bad hands, or you have all your energy, or you cannot get an energy in the first 3 turns. You cannot discard anything, or you have to discard 3 Malamars on turn 1, or there's always something wrong happening. Like it feels like this, but that's. I mean, it's kind of the perception, right? I think we players have I think maybe we want something more consistent than Malamar overall, but Malamar is still very good when it works, right? When it works, it's just like the things it can do, the attackers you can power up with Malamar are very strong. So I cannot really recommend it. I agree with you, Otavio, with this, but I think you're making Malamar look worse than it is statistically.
No,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, Malamar gets a bad rap. It is definitely, it's like not the most consistent deck, but like people like it has a bad, it's like a stigma around it where it's worse than it actually is. And I feel like there's always a deck. There's a deck of every format where they're and I think Malamar is that deck for the last couple of years. It was just like Malamar lol dead draw. Like
Greninja.
yeah, Greninja was the one. Greninja was insane when it's set up, right? But it was on the clunkier side, and a lot of people didn't know how to exploit like where shortcomings were. So it like did well sometimes for sure. When the setup was insane, but it was that Greninja had that same bad rap.
Yeah, Greninja just better than Malamar when it's set up and worse when it didn't.
Yeah.
The chat wants me to ask about Malamar VMAX. We got like 5 questions about that since we started talking about Malamar.
Why?
If anyone has any opinions on Malamar VMAX, is there any viability to the card?
Why would you play Malamar VMAX right now?
with Electrode and Greens. No, Electrode.
But it wasn't good when Dragapult was the most played deck or the second most played deck. Why would it be good now when we have better VMAX Pokemon?
Yeah, exactly.
Better dark type VMAX Pokemon. Like
Yeah.
I don't see Malamar working right now.
Yeah, I agree.
VMAX.
Me too.
Okay, so big one. I've seen a lot of people splashing these into lists: Belelba and Bryson Man and Cyrus Prism Star as Eternatus counters. Do we think those are viable, and in what decks? Things like that.
Sorry, Belelba and?
Belelba,
sorry.
Bryson Man.
Oh, just Belelba.
Cyrus.
Okay.
No, sorry. Go ahead.
Belelba, Bryson Man, and Cyrus Prism Star.
Oh, okay.
Start with us.
So do.
Oh, Stéphane.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Belba is maybe, but only in some decks. Like it's not every deck I can have time to use a supporter just to remove just to do that. And right now, I'm not sure which decks can actually afford that. You would probably want to play this in a deck that played Tackle already, so you can have a way to search for it, because Eternatus can be very fast, right? And if you are playing a 2-price or 3-price deck, you only have a very, very limited amount of turns to find your Belba, so you wouldn't want to play this in a deck with Tackle, and I'm not sure what can which decks can do that right now. Like I haven't tested this deck, so maybe you guys have a more sorry, I'm trying to find the word. A more precise, I guess, vision of this. Cyrus, I thought about it. Maybe if you play a deck with Jirachi or Gas Station. But the issue with Cyrus is you put the cards back in the deck, so the opponent can just they can fill their bench again in the mid game. It's not gonna be too hard to just go, okay, well, my Pokemon are back in my deck, which is gonna be thinner in the middle of the game. So maybe Crobat, Professor's Research, and I found 5 Pokemon again. It's not that hard in theory, at least. And also it allows them to reuse their Zigzagoons, maybe. Why am I seeing 2 Robin on my screen? Am I the only one?
Yeah, no, he's popping in and out. We'll go. Or you? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, me?
Yeah, we'll go with Otavio next.
Okay. I don't know about Cyrus Prism Star. I think it's very specific. And the Pokemons go back to the deck, so I don't know if it is that good. In Belaba, the thing is, you need to discard 3 cards from your hand, and you need to discard cards from the top of your deck. So to play Belaba, you need to be in a good board state to not play a draw supporter. You need to have enough cards in your hand to discard them, enough bad cards, because if you have 4 cards in hand, you will have a 0 card hand. If you have 6 cards in hand, you will have 2 cards in hand after Belelba. And the thing is, you have to discard Pokemon from your bench too. That may be a problem, and I don't know if that's enough to discard Eternatus bench, because he can maybe play around Belelba and bench them later, or even with Belelba, he will have enough Pokemon in the deck to KO you later. And also, maybe Belaba is only good in control variations, but still, the second effect may be not enough because, like, you use the second effect. Now, Eternatus has 3 Pokemon on the bench, but it deals 120, and usually in control decks, the Pokemon have low HP, so it doesn't make a difference. And also, you are going to clean the bench, so they like can discard Pokemon with heavy retreat costs, like a Hoopa. And like, so I don't think Belaba is a good counter to Eternatus. And Cyrus Prism Star, I think it's too specific, and also like it's not a draw supporter. So to play Cyrus Prism Star, you need to be in a good position to play Cyrus. You need to have a good board position, and like, I don't know if it is enough. Maybe it's like, okay, Cyrus Prism Star, and then what? If he KOs you back, Cyrus was like useless.
Yeah, we want to go with Azul next.
Yeah, I mean, so I think Bryson Man is pretty good, especially if you're already playing Tackles and Pikarom, because Pikarom sets up another attacker with Full Blitz, right? So that's the biggest thing is when you use one of these supporters for turn, you're not playing your Research, you're not playing your Marnie, you're not playing your Volkner. But Pikarom, when you use Full Blitz, you set up your another attacker, right? So you already have someone ready to go. If you're already playing the Tag Hall build of Pikarom, you have many ways to search out your Bryson Man. You have a lot of draw support behind the Crobat and the Dedenne. So if you need to find something else on the turn, you have other stuff to dig for the cards you need for your turn. So I think Pikarom can utilize Bryson Man very well, especially with the Tag Call builds. Other decks will struggle a little bit more. Stuff like Zacian. If they KO your Zacian, we're going to Bryson Man, then you're going to go, okay, Trap and Sword. And they're going to be like, okay, knock out your active Jirachi. Like, you didn't gain anything by using your Bryson Man that turn if you're ADP Zacian or something, right? I think, like, ADP Zacian specifically, you're better using that tech spot for a big charm so they don't one-hit KO your ADP. But Cyrus, then if you are playing something like a Conversation or Luke Metalization, something like that, probably better going with a Cyrus because it's, like, less cost out of the hand. The only drawback is like you can't reuse it through Eldegoss, but that like using 2 Bryson Man in a game, discarding 6 of your cards out of your deck and then 6 cards out of hand is like a lot to have research. So I think Pikarom utilizes Bryson Man the best for sure. Cyrus is something I would have to test against to see if it even does enough against a turn just on the turn, because they can just go Research Crobat and maybe they just fill their bench enough to the point where they just get the KO again, because all the Pokemon are back in their deck, higher chance to draw into the Pokemon and so on. So, but Bellaba is pretty good with Pikarom, I think.
Can you hear me, Robin?
Yeah, now I hear you. Sorry, my connection has been very like not good today, I guess. But yeah, what Azul was talking about sounds reasonable. In Pikarom, maybe it could be something. Yeah, but in general, I don't think it's you can just put in whatever Bryson Man into your deck and suddenly you're fine against Eternatus. I don't think it affects the deck too much. They can just bench some new Pokemon. It's like, and you lose a lot of resources by doing that. So needs some specific setup probably to be effective.
But yeah, I do think that like the biggest deck I've seen Bulba played in is like Vikavolt, because you're already item locking well, discarding the bench. And it is better to mill in Vikavolt, I feel like, than like aggressive decks. But let's see. Getting away from the decks a little bit, what do you think is like the biggest difference preparing for a big tournament in an online setting versus like the way you usually prepare in the real world? We'll start with Stéphane.
I don't know if there's any real difference. Honestly, I mean, okay, there's one difference, I guess, which is that online tournaments often have open deck lists. So that's something that can affect your choice of decks, but even then, not that much, I feel, overall. I like, before the Limitless Online series, I thought that the open deck list would change maybe more the way that people build. Maybe people would play less surprise decks because they would be expected and so on, but overall, I don't think it has had that much impact on how people build their decks. I thought people would play more standard, classic lists, but no, we're still innovating and stuff. But yeah, overall, it's just the tournament is pretty much the same thing. You play games. Well, I don't know how other people do it, but I play games online and try to decide on a deck a few days before, and then I just test the deck over and over to try to refine the list. And yeah, I guess the big difference for this specific tournament, the POG Championships, is that there's not a lot of time to test on TCGO before the event. We only have 1 week to get the cards and figure it out. So I think that's well, you just have to devote more time in a quick amount of time. And maybe people who don't have that time because they're working, because they have other obligations, whatever, will default to a deck like Picorum or AD Position or even Basic Phenon, I don't know, something that they've already played before and that doesn't change a lot with the new format.
Otavio?
Yeah, I totally agree with Stéphane. I don't think I have anything to add. I think like preparing for line tournaments is the same except for the open deck list thing, and the open deck list thing I think is very good.
Yeah. Azul?
Yeah, not too much changes at all. I guess you don't change like your tech cards really at all. I mean, even in like real life tournaments, the especially for a lot of us, like if we played a gimmick card, a lot of players on day 2 would know what we were playing if we had that gimmick card. So I don't in online, so I don't think it really makes that big of a difference. You know, if you play that one of Bryson Man or something, even if they know if you have it, they'll play a little bit differently, but it's still good. Like it's still good. They have to play around all of it. They don't get to play as aggressively as they want to, stuff like that. Like playing those cards is still good. I don't think it really changed. The online deck list changes a whole lot. I thought it would more too, just like Stéphane. I thought it would change. Everyone would be playing like straightforward. Everyone would be playing like toward lists out here, 4/4 of everything, and nothing gimmicky at all. But yeah, didn't really change that much. It didn't. Yeah, nothing really changes. Just play, test like you would normally for a real life tournament. That's it.
Robin, anything to add?
Yeah, not really. I don't think it changes like at all.
Someone asked, what helps decks to thrive in an undeveloped meta? We'll start with
Robin?
Oh, so well, being consistent, having a lot of outs against like different things, and just being a good deck, honestly. Like, yeah. I mean, you're probably not gonna play a deck which is designed to counter some specific decks in a meta like this, but you still try to find the best deck or like what you think is the best deck. So, yeah, like I think it's really not that much different than like if you like had tournament results. It's just like still you just play. In my opinion, you play what you think is the best deck overall.
Does anyone have anything to add? Okay.
Really.
This is something I hear around like the time of the World Championships every year. Are high roll or decks with very polarizing matchups better at big global events, especially maybe less so this year in day 1 because everyone will play, but in day 2 especially where it's going to be a lot of the very, very good players probably around the same skill level as. We'll start with Otavio.
I think consistency is always better, but like high roll can do well. Like I saw at last year's World Championship, there were a lot of really strange decks in day 2, like Fossil, and they did do kind of well. Like I think in the end of the day, consistency is always better. Or like if your deck is like if your deck is like Archie's Blastoise, and if you like set up you win, maybe it's probably the play. But like usually consistency is the key to winning the tournament.
Azul?
So the question was like, is it worth it playing a high roll deck versus
our deck with very polarizing matchups?
I mean, I don't think people actually know what a high roll deck like stuff like Archie's or like people call welder decks high roll decks. Like those decks aren't high roll decks. Like they consistently pull off their strategies to win games. I don't think like we really had any high roll decks in a while. Like I don't even know if like I can't even remember I can't even like name a high roll deck I would consider a high roll deck right now. Like maybe the most recent one would be like Lost March. which maybe Mad Party is the high roll deck right now, because I don't know, it feels like there's a lot to get going to make those decks kind of flow well. Like you have to draw cards in like certain sequences to like make them flow well, or in specific sequences. But yeah, consistency is like always kind of key. Just finding the best deck, the deck that you think is just best for the tournament, and then figuring out the matchups. Don't over tech. Definitely test the matchups. Don't over tech. Don't like be like, well, I need this card's really good against them. But if you don't play the matchup, because there's gonna be a lot of new matchups to test. You're playing a new deck, so you have no idea how any of the matchups work. You're playing an old deck, you need to test the new matchups. Don't immediately just throw in tech cards to being like, this is definitely good against it for X reason. What if you just beat them anyways? What if you don't need that tech card, right? So just testing the matchups is like the biggest thing, and then trying to make your deck as consistent as possible. Well.
Yeah, I mean, I will say you might also just apply this like rogue decks, like Alex Mansky. I know last year played like the Gengar, Mimikyu, Omastar, just people playing like weird decks to like try to surprise opponents.
Oh, that yeah. I mean, that's just a bad deck, bro, to be honest. Like in that scenario, that was just kind of a bad. It was fun. It was good. I sat next to him one round. It was actually fun to watch. But it doesn't work. I don't think it works. I think people squeak into top 8 sometimes with it, but it doesn't work. Like when you get to playing against the best players in the world, they know what all your cards do. They know how you're trying to use them. And if your deck actually is just a bad deck or just a gimmick, if it's just like a gimmick to try and win games, you're not going to win the tournament. So I mean, it depends on what your reason is to play the deck. If you want to play the deck in a tournament, go for it. If your goal is to win the tournament, and you're like, this deck works, but my opponent doesn't know what they're doing against it, then you're not going to win the tournament. You'll hit a very good player. They'll know what your deck's doing. They'll play around it, and you won't win games. So it depends on what your goal is. If you just want to, top 32 with your deck, and that's fine. But understand that if you play those kind of decks, you're just you'll do well against the average level player, but you'll hit a ceiling eventually of skill when you play against a certain player, and they will just destroy you. So,
Stéphane?
Yeah. So like I think like the answers deviated a little bit from the question, which was about high roll decks, and like usually for rolls, yes, I feel like I have several anecdotes, I guess, about this. For example, in 2018, right? Worlds. So for example, that was just after I won NAIC with Zorogab, and Zorogab was supposed to be very good for Worlds. It ended up being, I know. Congrats, Fabian. But for example, I was talking with Fabian, who also made top 8 with the same Zorogab list as me as NAIC, Fabian Puchol, and he and at first he was like, yeah, let's play Zorogab, and then he started testing with other people, including Pedro Torres, and he was like, I don't want to play Zorogab. I'm going to play a very aggressive, very fast Rayquaza list with Puzzle of Time, which wasn't done at the time. And I was like, but that's very risky, right? If you hit Zorogab, you just lose. Even if you don't hit this, sometimes they can be inconsistent. You're just going very fast and hoping that you just outspeed the opponent and win before they can really react. And he was like, yeah, it's risky, but it's Worlds. I have to, everyone is super good, and especially in day 2. And we have to, you have to take risks. You cannot win Worlds if you don't have a bit of luck, if you don't take risks. So he was like, I'm going to play this. If I do super bad, it's just basically it was like doing super bad, going 0-7 is not very different at Worlds from going in the middle of the pack, because you're not gonna there's no championship points to earn. You really want. He was like, if I'm at Worlds, I want to aim for the top. I don't want to be just above average. And he ended up making top 16. And Pedro, who played either the same list or one card difference or something, made top 4. And I think it paid off. And there are over, I think, success stories like this, and there are also, I think, a lot of people who tried similar things and which didn't work out at all, but we don't talk about them because nobody talks about whoever got 73rd place at Worlds 5 years ago. So I think at Worlds, there's definitely a lot of reasons to take risks and play something that is okay, if I draw well and maybe hit a few heads on Super Scooper or whatever, I'm going to win. Is this going to be the case for the POG Championships? I don't know, because there's not, no disrespect, man, but there's not the same prestige as Worlds right now, right? So maybe people will try more to play something they like or something that seems good, rather than, trying to go all in, trying to get the first place. Because it's not, you don't get the $25,000, you don't get the Pikachu trophy, and you don't get a title of world champ, the official title of world champion.
Yeah,
So
you only get POG champ.
Worlds is probably valuable to other people, but maybe not as much as Worlds.
And then Robin, who won Worlds, was probably one of the least high roll decks. So, what's your take on it?
I don't really like this like risk-taking logic or anything, because like you can get you can get lucky and draw really well and like high roll with a normal regular deck like Zoroark as well. Like you don't have to play Rayquaza to get lucky. It's like I don't really like see the point there. Like I believe that you should just play like the best deck, the deck that you feel like gives you the best like the best matchup spread overall. And sometimes that might be just a I don't know boring deck that everyone knows. Sometimes it might be a deck which I don't know might look gimmicky or is like weirder. But yeah, I don't really care about how the deck is perceived or anything. I just like, do I feel this deck is good? Do I feel it beats most other decks or don't? And yeah, it's not really about do I need to get lucky with this deck, or is this a consistent deck or whatever? It's like, yeah.
Okay, and we're getting close to the end here, so I have 3 more quick questions. What do you think is the best deck that we haven't talked about? We've talked about a lot of weird decks, but there's things like Sableye, Mad Party, Boltund. So just quickly, what would be your pick, Stéphane?
So Mad Party is probably the correct answer, but I'm gonna say Spiritomb.
Spiritomb.
Spiritomb gains. Okay, do you want me to go in detail or not? Because I don't know if you have time. Okay, Spiritomb gains the new Stadium, Spike move, I think, something like this. And that puts damage controls very fast on it, and it also gains Toughness K. So Spiritomb now has 110 HP, especially against decks that don't play Tool Scrapper. And this means that it can hit for 310 damage if it has 10 damage counters. And you might be thinking, with 10 damage counters, that's out of turn, that's not happening. But if you play with multiple switch, use the Special Energy, Squirtnet, Birdkeeper. Birdkeeper is very good in Spiritomb. You can actually get the damage controls very fast. And yeah, the stadium helps a lot. You can have turns where you go Birdkeeper into Jirachi into Spiritomb, then you retreat with a special Dark Energy Spiritomb, you bring up another Jirachi, you Squirtnet of Jirachi, maybe you switch on more time, stuff like this. And with the stadium, Jirachi, when it retreats, also get damage counters, so you can move them with Jinx and so on. And you can actually, like, doesn't happen all the time, but you can actually deal like 280 on turn 2 and one shots ADP. That can happen with a good draw. So it has potential. It does have issues because it's a one-price deck. So if you don't go super fast, or maybe if you don't, maybe you can use Evolve GX, but otherwise you're gonna have trouble with ADP. You probably have trouble with some other stuff. Vikavolt probably. I actually haven't tested that yet, but yeah, Spiritomb is definitely a deck that gains a lot from the new set, and that makes it interesting to me.
Robin?
What were the other options again?
Just like best deck, like anything. Best deck that we haven't talked about.
Oh. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I like Mad Party. I think it's decent. Like, yeah, I think I would pick that, but yeah, really, I haven't. I don't know. Like, don't have a list of decks in front of me right now. But like, what did we talk about? What didn't we? So yeah, I don't know.
Azul?
I was gonna say Mad Party as well is maybe the best one. Spiritomb is also really good too. Yeah, it gains a lot. I don't know, Big Blondes. He's all right still, probably, maybe. No. Yeah, I don't know. We talked about most of the top decks. There's a couple fringe guys still floating around. So yeah, there's not too much else to mention, I don't think.
Ultimate Mewtwo.
Otavio?
Yeah, like
Ultimate
I think probably like Mad Party and maybe Spiritomb. I don't know which of them, but like I don't know. Like Mad Party is okay. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I do think Boltund gets a little bit better with Turbo Patch, but probably still just worse Speaker ROM. And I think Daniel Davila posted very recently like a Mad Party checkmate with Nagandel GX list on Twitter. I don't know if that's a joke or not, but it's interesting.
Mad Party definitely needs to play an Nagandel to beat free prizers, but I don't think you need to go like super heavy checkmate. It's just a nice option. Like,
what do you think is going to be the most popular deck at the event? We'll start with Azul.
ADPization.
Stéphane?
Yeah, day one, ADPization, definitely. Day two, I don't know. It's very hard to tell. It will depend on what does well on day one. Could be ADPization, could be Vikavolt, could be Eternatus if a lot of day two players play it. Could even be something like Vikaram, I don't know.
Robin?
I'm gonna be a bit disappointed if it's ADPization, but it's probably gonna be. Yeah.
Otavio?
Yeah, I think it's ADP or Vikavolt or Eternatus, probably ADP, but like I think there are arguments for both of those three because ADP is like the same from last format. Vikavolt won the tournament in Japan, and Eternatus is like the mascot of the set, so any of those three can be the most popular, but like I think probably ADP and second Vikavolt.
Okay, and without like leaking whatever you're gonna play, maybe the best deck that you're not playing, or like the deck that you play for day one if you were in day one. We'll start with Stéphane.
Sorry, what is the question? The deck I would play?
Yeah, basically the best deck that you like in the deck that you play for day one, basically.
It's hard to tell. Like Vikavolt probably.
Azul?
But
If you had to decide right now, basically.
I mean, I would probably play, but I think the best deck to just play for demo is just, I think it is just ADPization, even though I'm like with Rob, I don't want to say it, but I would play Vikavolt personally. I just love it. Vikavolt's super fun. So,
Yes. Robin?
I have no idea. There's like at least 5 decks that I'm still considering. It's like Vikavolt, Eternatus, Dragapult, Conversation, maybe even Mad Party. Like, there's a bunch of decks that are still a possibility here.
Otavio?
Yeah, I don't know, but like right now, I think I would say ADP, especially because it's best of one, and I think it's very consistent. But like, it could be Vikavolt or another deck like Eternatus or like I don't know, like it could be anything, but like probably ADP.
Okay, well, that is. We have a couple minutes left, but I think we'll wrap up now. If anyone has any shout-outs they'd like to give before we sign off, we'll start with Stéphane, and then Otavio, and then Robin, and then Azul.
Yeah, well, no real shout-outs. And thanks for having me. I'm a writer for Poke Beach, so if you want to read more stuff that I wrote, you can go consider having a subscription there. I wrote a big free article recently about what makes a format interesting, what makes a format enjoyable to play. So if you want to see the kind of stuff I like to write about, I'm pretty proud of this article. So you can go there. Otherwise, yeah, thank you, and thanks for listening to this, everyone.
Okay, so like shout outs to shout outs to my parents, and I think like shout outs to my friends too. Like I would say, yeah. Thanks for inviting me. It's the first time someone invites me for a meta forecast, so like I'm very happy. And also like let's see, follow me on Twitter, guys. I want more followers.
Everyone's Twitter ats are there on the screen. Go follow everyone. Robin?
Okay, if you want to hear me talk about Pokemon like regularly, you can listen to the Limitless podcast, where like I'm usually on like once a week or every other week. So yeah, check that out.
And Azul?
Yeah. I mean, thanks for having me. It was a great talk. Good to talk to all you guys. It's been a little while. Check me out, YouTube and Twitch, Azul GG. I'm both there. Follow the Twitter. That's it. That's all I got. That's great.
And I think you're streaming right after this, basically, right, as well?
A little bit after.
okay.
Yeah, a little bit after this.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for coming on. Thank you everyone for watching. And I think we'll end it there. Maybe Connor will, if we can have him grade Azul's stream, since he'll be streaming not too long. And yeah, so thank you everyone for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you.